So I just punched him. Like, I was like, boom, boom. And it was absolutely terrifying. Because I see the bone of his nose. I saw the blood coming out. I saw the eyes roll back to his head. And I saw him fall to his knees. And then fall to the ground. And I thought I killed him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, I just killed somebody. My life is over.
High school matters. Come on, let's talk about it. Welcome to High School Matters, the podcast dedicated to conversations that I have with my former high school students. My name is Randy Appel, and I've been teaching high school since the year 2000. And before we begin, a quick note. If you've been listening to High School Matters for a while, you may recognize parts of today's episode. Several years ago, I released portions of this conversation. Shortly afterwards, my guest asked me to take them down, and I respected that request. Today, with his permission, I'm finally able to share our entire conversation. My guest today is a former Great Neck North High School student named Sam. If you've been listening to the last few episodes, you already know that Sam has become one of the most talked about people on this podcast. A couple of episodes ago, Matthew Shurka, one of the most fascinating guests ever to appear on High School Matters, shared the story of being on the receiving end of a punch that truly changed his life.
And out of nowhere, I get whacked, hitting into my nose, and I black out. It took me like a couple months to register how impactful that event was.
Today, you'll hear from the person who threw that punch. As you'll hear, that punch didn't just change Matthew's life, it changed Sam's as well. He was arrested, expelled, and sent down a path he never imagined. And it didn't end there. As Kevin Nasimi, Sam's best friend in high school, told us in the most recent episode, that one punch changed the culture of an entire high school.
We got into a lot of fights in high school, and this is the only one that had repercussions. It also put a whole dent on the school. Like that Monday was like a dark place to be in.
Most people remember the punch. Very few know the rest of the story. And that's what you're about to hear. What fascinated me most wasn't the details of the fight itself, it was Sam's perspective. He experiences life and emotion in a way that is truly unique. And I am grateful for his willingness to share that perspective with me, and now with all of you. In fact, Sam was so open and vulnerable during this conversation that even though he gave me permission to release it in its entirety, he asked that I continue to bleep or obscure his full name whenever it is mentioned, and I am happy to honor that request. Most of us run from a fight or from any frightening situation. In this conversation, you'll have the opportunity to step inside Sam's mind as he describes his experiences and his attitudes towards fear, fighting, and so much more. Sam also speaks candidly about the way he believes he should have been educated and the kind of environment in which he would have thrived. It's a thought-provoking conversation that raises a broader question. Do all students belong on the same path and in the same educational environment? This conversation became a period of introspection for both of us, and I truly hope it will be for you as well. I hope you enjoy part one of this extended episode of High School Matters.
All right. You ready?
Totally ready.
You excited?
Very excited.
Are you excited?
Thrilled.
Okay, good. I'm excited that you're excited or thrilled or whatever. I want to start by saying, first of all, it's 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday. Okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, the commitment to be here is big. I never had you as a student. You're never in my class. But you've come up every now and then in some of these conversations. And I guess the first thing I'll say is, what was it that made you, agree to do this, but then to do this at this crazy time? Like, talk about why we're here from your perspective.
Look, you mentioned that you remember seeing me smiling in the hallways, and that was a good memory for you. It's very similar for me. Like for me, being in high school and before that, feeling misunderstood was very common for me. And there were very few people that I could look at and have them look at me and not feel judged. You know, or misunderstood.
Okay.
And you're one of those people.
You say you were misunderstood. Talk about that.
I don't know if so much misunderstood, but I would just say judge very quickly based on what somebody might have heard of me or how they what they presume my intentions were. Like frequently my intentions were very misunderstood. And at any point in my life, I would be expected for people to know that my intentions are always positive and good and loving. And that's pretty much at the center of it. And that seems to be like very distant from what people understood of me. But one thing that's true is I'll always do things my way. I love doing things my way. Nobody can hold me down and nobody will hold me down. So that's kind of like goes hand in hand with the kind and loving. Like if I'm kind and loving and you get in my way of something that I want to do, then somehow you're going to move out of the way or I'm going to move into a different path. So anyways, throughout those processes and things that happened, like I think it just frequently got misunderstood. But when I saw you, I didn't get that same sense of judgment, of like there was a danger around.
That's so interesting. I didn't ever judge you. While I didn't know you, I knew a lot of your friends. Do you think in a way you were defined by the group of friends you had and were with?
Maybe Steven, but that's just about it. I don't know if I was tied so closely to like the reputation of somebody else other than Steven. Steven and I, though, we were taking baths together. So we went way back.
It's interesting you bring up Steven because I think there was always like the duo, Sam and Steven. And you know, Sam and Steven has kind of something that's also come up in these conversations in a way.
And there were two boys in the grade above me who were known and had a reputation of beating up other kids, getting into fistfights.
They were the two wildest of our friends. They were the two ones that brought a lot of, listen, when you're that young, you want hype, you want to act. There were a lot of ones, you want to party, you want to meet girls, you want to do things like that. There were two leaders in that category.
And I think maybe we could talk about, how that relationship maybe impacted your high school life in a way, right? You said, why did you bring up Steven? Like, why was that the kid who you mentioned as the duo,
Me and Steven always fed off of each other. You know what I mean? And we also I think we both were very connected. And there was other people also just weren't so, me and Steven just made a lot of noise, but
right.
I think we both just didn't give a shit in a lot of ways. And I find that to be a positive thing. You want to be yourself as much as you can at all times. And to me, not be apologetic about it. But, so Steven and I, really, we would just do what we wanted. And we would egg each other on to push those boundaries further and further. And I think we both liked creating shock and awe. But we were energized by it. To us, we were having a good time. I mean, to me, I can't speak for Steven, but I was having a very, very good time. And it was entertaining. I don't know if you know this, but I actually came to North my sophomore year. Before that, I was in yeshiva, which I could not stand.
Why'd you leave yeshiva?
I couldn't.
It just wasn't your thing.
It was not for me, and it still is not for me. And I think it's just any environment that is caged or there's a closed mindset in any way isn't for me.
So you felt like it didn't allow you to flourish.
No, I got kicked out.
You got kicked out of yeshiva.
Ultimately, look, when I'm happy to say this. When I applied to the school, I actually wrote a letter of why I do not belong to the school, and that if they accepted me, I would ultimately get kicked out. And
is that right?
They accept me, and I wasn't known for being a good student. There was no reason for them to accept me except for my family involvement, and it was a mistake, I think, on all parties. For me to do that. But by the time I got to North, you don't know how happy I was. I would cry that I was in yeshiva. So when I got to North, it was like a playground. For me, it was like every day was the best day ever.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you were, quote unquote, trapped in this yeshiva in a way. You get kicked out, which is what you wanted. But then did you come to North with this reputation of I imagine a kid that gets kicked out of a yeshiva probably has some kind of reputation. I got kicked out because we went to we did a school retreat. It was the first year the school actually opened. It was North Shore Hebrew Academy High School. And that was there. They just started high school. And we went to camp for a weekend, and I brought alcohol. So I got everybody drunk, and that's why I got in trouble. So I don't think people didn't, I don't think it developed that, I wasn't a bully. I don't think anybody, I know aside from Matt Shurka, I don't recall being called a bully directly by anybody. I don't know if that came up at all. No, well I did speak to Matt. I did speak to Dave Nowinski, and we'll talk about how your name came up.
with Matt, I just want to add, there's, a couple of sides to every story.
100%. And I do want to talk about that, but I do want to learn about who you were first as a student before we talk about that incident, if that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So you come to Great Neck North as a sophomore. You had just gotten kicked out of yeshiva. You probably had a reputation in a way of being this quote unquote bad guy. Even, whatever. You brought alcohol to a retreat and there's something mischievous about that, right? Like that's like
I wasn't going to follow the rules. I think people knew that.
Okay. So you were not a rule follower.
No
You beat to your own drum.
Yeah.
Like you said, you applied to the yeshiva, letting them know you're probably not going to be the person they should have.
I said very strong words. Do not accept me. I was like, I don't belong here. I don't know.
But your parents were very into you going there? Is that the issue?
It was very important for them for me to have a Jewish education.
Oh, got it. So did you feel like a sense of like rebellion because of that? Because you didn't want to be that religious? I don't know how religious you are.
I was just acting. It could be called rebellion, but I was simply getting to where I wanted to be.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
So it's like I didn't really care what anybody else necessarily. I mean, I care. I do care. I care more about me being like I have one life,
right.
And I felt this way for a very long time. Like, so nobody's going to tell me sort of what to do. The only time really I would say that, and I think almost all boundaries are expandable.
Yeah.
Except for one, and that is like the law, the U.S. law, which I met when, with the Matt Shirka incident, and that's where things came to a head. And, I realized like breaking the law isn't what I want to do for a living.
Got it.
But, other than the actual law and like natural laws of life, like we're all free to do exactly what we want and be who we want to be, and we should.
Got it.
And I also, I'm a very energized like person. If somebody physically, if there's a physical thing, like I played sports, like I like being physical. To me, fighting is like it's a major high.
You had this energy about you and you didn't contain it. You kind of just let it out there. And that's who you were. So you come to Great Neck North High School sophomore year. You were already friends with someone like Steven and his group of friends. So you were like one of the popular guys.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, was on vacation with your earth science teacher.
Goldman.
Miss Goldman, right? And I was telling her that we were speaking. And, I was wondering, because I had this vibe
nice.
about you.
Me and her, she was nice.
Well, what's interesting is I had this vibe about you. And if you listen to certain things, like I said, if you talk to one person, you have one opinion. Talk to another person, you have another opinion. Miss Goldman was like, I loved Sam. He was a good guy. Like, so you come to school sophomore year.
I don't know if you know, I got into a fight that third day of school also.
That's what I want to hear. I want to learn about the Sam of high school. So go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I remember my first few days of school, I dressed very nicely. Steven told me, he's like, dude, you're too dressed up. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if you know, my family's in fashion, and I just like dressing nice. Anyways, that third day, we were walking back from lunch, and we were passing the village school, and we were on the sidewalk walking home, and there was like three guys. One of them was very tall, and we just walked past them and started talking shit. It was like day 3. It ended up saying that we're going to meet at 3 o'clock after school on Brokaw for a fight, and we actually did. I go there, and I see this guy. He's like 2 feet taller than me. And we start throwing fists, and like we don't know what we're doing, and we get into this fight. And I think I was actually suspended from on
your third day of school in this new school, you start a fight with, just to give context, village school is like almost like an alternative school to the Great Neck public schools.
Yeah.
And you get into a fight the third day.
Look, it was an energy for me that was a lot of fun. And I would go through my days like very bored. Like I needed serious stimulation, and I still need very serious stimulation.
It's so interesting that you try to understand the mindset of anyone, right? Like I think that's important to understand the mindset. So you were attracted or enticed to these fights because it gave you this rush. It's very interesting.
Look, it was that, but it also did create persona.
Yeah, 100%.
So like that was part of it also. Like I was aware that the kids that were older than me were a big influence on me. So like Lance Sheena and Adin Akmani, and I don't even know if they know my name, but I looked at what they were doing and I was like, I'm not going to wait. Like, that's happening now.
I gotta stop you for a second, because one of the things that in my conversation with one of the students, Dave, your family friend, he talks about you as this older kid being an influence on him.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting how like the cycle continues. You know, it's just very interesting. So okay,
I think that's human, though. I don't know. I think that's never ending.
It's never ending, but it's just, you know, it's like these kids.
If they set a different example, I would be a different person.
Right. That's
100%.
Right. That's what's so fascinating about that from like my perspective. Like, okay, so let's go back to 10th grade. Your third day in, you get into this fight. You now have this persona as Sam is a fighter. Sam, don't mess with Sam because he will beat you up in a way, right? Like if you get in his way.
Yes.
So do you think that created a sense of like, look, what do you think the persona was from like
what else
students?
was I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, look, I wasn't good in class. Okay, I didn't do well in school. I wasn't going to be on a sports team. I wasn't interested in that structure. Okay, I didn't really have that many other things to offer.
Yeah, fighting was the only thing you had.
I'm saying I had I wanted to stand out. I want to be different. I want to, have my own things. I want to be energized. Like, I want to have something like I said, I was just very unstimulated by all this. And I think like fighting, being social with people, and like just doing some sort of crazy things was
okay. So
where I leaned into.
do you see how though, as a fighter in high school, like that is, like the perception from like kids, it makes people fearful. Like, do you understand that mindset? Like, I remember, like, I'm gonna be honest right now.
I don't know.
And be a little vulnerable. When I was in high school, I can't tell you how opposite I was from you in terms of desire to fight. I had a girlfriend in high school, and she was a very pretty girl. And the older kids always liked her. And it always put me at risk of fighting I was not a fighter. I was like a wimp. I was like, you can't, like I said, I was the literal opposite of who you are self-describing yourself as. And a kid like you, like if you liked the girl I was dating, I would have been petrified of someone like you. You get that though?
I mean, yeah, I can see that. But I guess the other side of the story is you don't know also how terrified I was in certain times, right?
Yeah, so to talk about
for
that,
example,
what do you mean?
when I was I don't remember what year. Steven would probably remember, but junior, we got into a fight at a club, and I ended up putting this kid in the hospital. He had a brother who was my age, and he was pretty injured. But he was like the big thing for Lance's grade, and literally after high school, all those kids came after me. So there was like all these guys that I looked up to. Like I was at Steven's house. And Lance was close family friends with him. And Lance was literally searching Great Neck for me. And they came to Steven's house. And I hid upstairs in his parents' bathroom underneath a table with a tablecloth. And it took Steven like a couple of hours to find me after.
Wow.
There's situations where like, yeah, look, if I felt comfortable enough where I'm like, okay, like there's an equation here. One, I'm not going to go brain dead from whatever is about to happen. First of all, like I can't lose some functionality in my life because of the fight that's about to happen. Mm-hmm. So that's the most important thing. And then the second thing I think is probably the social reward, honestly, right? Because like, again, I could jump to like by the time I was college age, I didn't really go to college, but I would travel and people would know me in a lot of different places. And it was interesting because I didn't expect it. And they heard stories that I don't know what stories they heard, but I liked them.
But it's,
I think that was hard.
I think back to this guy who is looking for the fight and almost excited by it. And then it's funny to think about you hiding under a table, afraid of another older kid trying to beat you up. That's a very...
I was always scared.
Really?
Yeah, fear was like a very common feeling for me.
Why? Why do you think fear was so common for you?
I liked doing the things that I was scared of.
Oh,
that's the thing. Because I was drawn to it. In a way, in certain ways. Like, there were some things, again, there's like an equation here. But, when it comes to, speaking to a girl, or, I don't know, just, between girls and social aspects, like, I would say that frequently I felt fear,
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's it. You're a real person, right? You're not, you give off a bravado that, I'm this tough guy and I'm going to kick everyone, whatever. But like, it's interesting to get into the mind of that guy who was in many ways, like you just said, afraid a lot of the time. So like, maybe that was part of your way of getting past the fear and by fighting. And that's just.
I remember a lot of times just being quiet. Like I was silent in certain rooms. Like Steven had an older brother when we were in 8th grade and 9th grade, and he would have parties all the time, and I would just be like quiet.
Oh,
like,
really?
Totally silent in the corner. Nobody knew I was there. At least that's how I felt.
Oh, wow.
And, but I learned, I observed these kids who were older than me, who were acting with this bravado, who were acting with this swagger.
Yeah.
And also, like, my family, like the family that I grew up with is full of very confident people who don't follow or like rules.
Oh, okay, so that was how you grew up.
Like, I have one college graduate in my father. But everybody else, my grandfather, my uncle, I don't think my brother or sister. If they did graduate college, it wasn't meaningful. You know what I mean? Like college education was not necessarily,
That wasn't what was significant.
That wasn't. It was
important.
More about experience. Life.
So that is that's an interesting like history of how you got to be the guy who walked down Middle Neck Road fighting with a village school kid on the 3rd day of school. So. Okay, so then you're in 10th grade. Anything else going through the mind of Sam, if you can get yourself back to high school, not talking about the Matt Shark incident, because I do want to talk about that, like I said, but I want to build a context. Anything else that you think is significant that you were going through at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, look, there could be many things, but look, I think it was, I didn't feel smart. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like the school environment, like success is, I guess, getting good grades, right? And then moving on to like a higher part of the next phase of life. And that was not my game. Like in any way, like I didn't feel unintelligent. I was just like, this isn't how I learn. And I just, again, it was a similar feeling. I felt caged.
The dynamic of high school is very odd. It's like a classroom with desks and rows and tests, and it's very, very singularly focused. Like you said, it's like you got to do well on a test, but like that doesn't work for everyone, right? Like there are people that are, I see people all the time that are, I know are going to be successful in life, but they're not successful in school. And then you see the opposite. You see kids that could not handle a day in Manhattan, but then they get like A+ on every test. So it's that dynamic is always fascinating to me in high school. Yeah. So you seem like you were this guy who the high school setting wasn't for you.
It was a whole education setting. I can't limit it to high school.
Okay.
I'm talking about from like kindergarten.
Oh, really? You felt that way all throughout?
There was one class that all I did was I carved the wall, and they had to completely they would go over it and I'll carve it again. Like, I was not interested in paying attention. I wasn't interested in being taught. I was interested in living and experiencing and learning through that.
So my wife's an elementary school teacher, so I'm thinking about like a classroom she has of 20 kids. What she would do with a kid like you? Like,
I'm impossible. I don't know why they would keep me in the school.
So my question is, what do you think a school should do with a kid like you?
Find another school.
So you think that really is like, there are some kids that are not meant for the structured setting?
100%.
Right.
I mean, if you, like Ken Robinson...
You could ruin a class in a way.
I could ruin a teacher's life.
Yeah, I know. I feel that.
Look, you need a level of alignment, right, for that education continuity and, like, to go through a program. Right? Like, you have an operation of it, and then there's me, and I will destroy that operation.
Yeah.
If you let, look, most of the time I was very much by myself. You know, like, again, like, I would be cutting a hole in the wall. But everybody else would be focusing.
Right.
So it's like, I wasn't necessarily... Like, I wasn't ruining classes in a way until my senior year. I remember, like, my first day of senior year, I want to, like, slap myself for what I did to one teacher. But I was going to say, if you remember anything, I remember being very protective of people. And not only, like, my friends. Like, I was, like, I care a lot about people. So, I had one teacher, Mr. Balsanaro, math teacher. He was the fucking man. I loved him. Okay?
Well, I don't know who that is.
I looked forward to his classes.
In high school?
Yeah. He's an Italian guy. Anyways.
Oh, Bombasino.
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Bombasino. Is he still there?
He's still there.
Dude, give him a hug for me.
I will.
I love that guy. But he'll remember this. There was one kid who was just being... and attitude is very important to me. That would also something that would actually set me off. Like, that I would react to. There were some things that I would react actually violent to. And that would be, like, rudeness and, like, when somebody's a dick to somebody that I care about. Or, obviously, they were going to, like, attack them.
Right.
And, like... you wouldn't know what was coming. So with this kid, he was nice. He was like a nice person. In most circumstances, we would get along. But he was being a total dick to Mr. Bolsonaro. I forgot what. Bombasino. He asked him, I think, to like close his shades. He's like, why would I close? Like, no. And I literally got up from my seat. I went to the kid and I slapped him. And I don't know what. I don't think. Like, what is a teacher going to do in that position, right? You're totally fucked.
You're defending him, right?
Yeah,
you're
he's fucked because me and him have a good relationship. And this kid's being a dick, and I was just like, I probably do exactly what he's like, I wish I could just slap this. Anyways, it's actually a sad thing because that kid passed. And then there was somebody else later that I hit. And also, they passed. And so there's two people that I've gotten into like altercation with that passed. And I won't forget those things. It's just the fact that they had a memory of that experience upsets me. You know?
Right. Wow.
I realize now that I'm talking about all these like physical moments that I have with people, that it's not common. Like for me, this was totally normal somehow. Like I wasn't, like again, I was pushing boundaries, but for me it was like, whatever, man, you know?
But going back to that moment with Bombasino, this kid was disrespecting a teacher you respected. So instead of being like, yo, just open the, instead, okay. So
I might have said that.
There's a couple options you had.
Yeah.
You could have been like, I'll just open the window, Bombasino. Like, I'm gonna just do this for you. Like, this kid's a jerk. I'm just gonna open it. You could have been like, yo, just open the window for him. But instead, you're in your mind, the right thing to do was to physically slap him in the face.
I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
No, but in your mind,
that was new to do.
That was what. No, but I'm trying to like understand your mentality in all.
But maybe it was the only option that came up as a teenager. There's so many factors that influence the way that you act. Like, we think that we're conscious, like, free-choosing beings, and that's why I meditate, because we're not at all. And, like, the only way that I really know that I have some semblance of, like, the ability to change myself is by looking pretty distant and ahead and making changes now for that future.
Got it.
So, like, I never think that, like, yesterday, I did a 1,000 things that I wouldn't do today because it was dumb shit. It was yesterday.
Right. Okay.
I got it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I totally got it.
That's what I knew.
Okay, so that and it kind of does help because it paints a picture of who you were and the thought process you had going through high school.
I mean, who knows? Like that what he did, I think, probably brought up like there was one. It probably brought up something that just upset me deeply, and I don't know where that originated
the kid
from.
In Bombasino's class.
That attitude. The sour asshole is just like my arch nemesis.
Interesting. So his negativity and disrespect was just something it triggered something for you that you couldn't.
I rarely stand for it.
You just can't. Yeah, and you had to act on it.
I don't know. Somehow in that moment, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of times where I didn't act on it, but somehow that happened.
It's very interesting.
We would also be like high and drunk in school. I don't think that was one of those days, but every Friday we would drink I was wasted.
In school?
Yeah, full day. I would get wasted on Fridays.
What do you mean, in the morning?
Yeah.
You'd wake up, give me a Friday what does that mean?
We would drive to a parking lot. We would have, lots of alcohol. We would have vodka and beer. And we would just get wasted.
Wow.
Yeah, Fridays.
Before school.
Yeah.
And then how
we did it. We called it vodka Fridays and I think beer Thursdays. I think we actually expanded
Are you
it to 2 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there was actually some more I never got into the pills, but there were a lot of people who were taking pills, Xanax, and OxyContin was pretty serious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think that was because you didn't like school so much, you needed to escape, or?
I think it's just how things evolved. For us, fun became, every weekend there was drugs and alcohol involved, and
a lot of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Marijuana or more?
Yeah. No. Later, cocaine, but
Oh, really? In high school?
Yeah. Okay,
Wow.
So you want to hear a story that nobody knows?
Of course.
So I actually, my junior year, I started selling cocaine. Okay? And I would buy by the ounce.
Selling cocaine in school?
I wasn't like sitting on the corner slinging cocaine. I would just buy enough that whoever was already going to buy would have.
Okay.
I wasn't like propositioning.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Random people for coke. No, but I mean that's it started from weed, right? And people wanted coke, and it was high margin. Like, and I had the cash to buy initial investment.
Oh my god! Okay.
At this point, I had my Laguna Seca, my M3. If you remember my car.
Well, it's funny you do mention the M3 because Dave Nowinski talks about how he looked up to you because you were driving this amazing M3. You had all these gorgeous girls hanging out with you. So it brings me back to that conversation. But okay, go on.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah. But so we went to Queens to Ditmars, like my sparkling clean, $70,000 car, and we pick up, a guy who's going to sell me cocaine. It wasn't always so smooth, by the way, like meeting drug dealers. Anyways,
really, it wasn't so smooth meeting drug dealers. That's shocking.
I want to tell two stories if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
But this one, so I was driving back, and I didn't have my license yet. Actually, I didn't have a driver's license. I had my, I didn't take driver's ed. I had I forget what they call it, the student driver's, maybe.
Okay, junior license.
Junior license. And we didn't do any coke at all on the car or anything like that. I don't think we did. Maybe we did a little bit. And we were driving home. And I was in an area that I wasn't familiar with. And the navigation was on, but the sound wasn't. So suddenly I saw that it said, you got to get off at this exit. And I turned my wheel as fast as I could because I was right there. I was going like 80, I don't know how fast.
Wow.
And this car, I actually I hit another car with the back of my car, and behind it was like a 18-wheeler truck. So I'm wearing shorts and a wife beater, my typical outfit. A cop comes, and obviously we're working out all the all the details. I don't mention that this isn't a real license, and he doesn't seem to mind that much either. This guy really let me go. The cop, and I put the coke in my pants because I knew that if he searched my car, I was like, maybe there's whatever. He won't find it there.
Okay.
And so after he, okay, we're okay. I get back in the car. I'm going to now figure out how am I going to fix this damaged car.
Right.
But I look in my pants and there's nothing there. I realized, I go back to the spot. During the conversation, an ounce of cocaine fell out of my shorts while I was talking to a police officer. I was like a 16-year-old.
And the cop never saw it?
Never saw it.
Oh my God.
And I got home. So I was a very lucky person. I had a lot of instances where luck was tremendous in life.
Wow, that is a crazy
story. The other story was I was in summer school frequently because of this, and I was looking to buy coke, and one guy was like, "Look, I'll get an ounce for you for $400 or $600," and it was going for like $1,000 at the time. So I said, "Okay." He was a big guy, scary guy, Spanish guy from Harlem.
Where do you meet drug dealers? Like what?
Look, it's just you attract people.
Okay.
Whatever that you're like. It's bizarre what I attract now. It's not the same thing. So I said, okay. I'm going to bring the money to school. And I decided, because I've been robbed before in drug transactions where somebody will actually take your money and say, fuck off. I was nobody in high school from North, I don't know if they even know this, because I wasn't with them. It was a summer school friend. So I said, okay, let's go, but I'm going to leave my money here with somebody that I know. So I left it was $500. With somebody at school, and then I brought another buddy of mine who was like the muscle, but not muscle at all. And they took us to Jamaica Queens, which 50 Cent just came out. We just started learning about Jamaica Queens. I wasn't expecting, whatever, but so we get there and we get into this. It's like a drug den. You know what I mean? It's like it was an apartment building that was like totally dilapidated and broken down and smelled like shit, and people were like needles, like it was not really seen. Yeah.
Like we see in shows and movies.
Like wire. And we just go upstairs and he knocks on the door and he's like, look, I'm just going to get my cousin. So he gets his cousin who comes to the car, who comes down with us. And this guy is like LL Cool J. He's scary as fuck. So this time I get in the back seat. Now there's 5 people in the car. 2 of his guys, his cousins, we're going to another place and he starts talking about how he just killed somebody. Which maybe could have been like a scare tactic.
Of course.
He's like, yeah, he just fucking shot him, straight in the head, dome, whatever. But I don't know, somehow I was chill. I was pretty calm at this point still and relaxed because I'm like, I'm not going to get shot. Everything's cool. So we get to the place and we get to another apartment building, same deal. And he's like, okay, let's just go up. And he knocks on the door. So LL Cool J guy is right in front of me knocking on the door. And then big guy from school is right behind me. 2 knocks. I'm in a chokehold. LL Cool J pulls out a razor blade from his mouth
Oh my God.
Puts it to my neck. He's like, "Where's your fucking money?" And I thought I was going to throw up. I was so scared because I didn't bring my money. I didn't bring anything. And so I had my hands. I just pulled out my pockets, pulled out my shorts. I'm like, "You can see I don't have shit." And then they go, "We're just fucking with you, man."
God.
And they took me back to school. Obviously, they didn't have drugs. They were going to rob me. But because I didn't have it, who know, if I had it, would they have hurt me? Would they have not? I don't know. But that was another story. So these are things that sort of random things that I experienced, and like I like that I have totally unusual experiences in life that I think most people, especially the ones that I deal with, haven't experienced, and I think that gives me that special to me.
I think you're really painting a picture of really who you are. And I feel like like I said, I didn't know you very well in high school, and you seem like you were just a guy who liked excitement.
I still do.
Who was not able to just be that regular guy going through life.
Well, look, I like stillness and I like Zen very much, but I have to have purpose and I have to have something that I'm choosing to be engaged with.
Got it. Wow.
And so it's like, I can meditate 2 hours a day. No problem. I'll sit right there. Sit down. I can sit down and read. I can put my attention on one thing for a very long period of time.
So let me ask you this question because it kind of brings up, things that go on at home and talk about what you feel comfortable and not feel comfortable with. But what was your home life chaotic? And I only ask that because you get kicked out of yeshiva, you go to school and you get fights. Was this like a shock to your parents? What was it like at home?
I don't know. My dad. I don't know. I always felt like I didn't feel good in a lot of ways.
Meaning what?
I didn't understand why I didn't do well in school. Or why I couldn't get certain concepts. Frequently I felt like I was doing stupid things. You know what I mean? Or I didn't know a better way. I'm what am I supposed to do here? Another an example of the stupidity is we were playing hide and go seek, and the first second somebody said hide and seek, I was a kid.
How old
put
were
my
you?
head to the ground. I don't remember. I was 9.
Okay.
8.
Okay, so you're young.
I was young, and I literally just bashed my head straight on the floor. To hide, I put a pillow over my head, and I just went down, and I hit my head right on the floor. There were things that I just wouldn't pay attention to, that I didn't have in my awareness, and they didn't develop until much later. So I struggled with that, because my dad was very intelligent. My mom was very successful, and a lot of, going to yeshiva and everybody around me was, super smart. And
Great Neck, too, is filled with very smart people.
Yeah, and I was, not smart.
So
I was in special ed over the call saying, "Please come for your medication." I was very against
you were on medication?
I hated the ADHD
medication. But
medication.
you took ADD medication? ADHD?
For a while. I don't know if I was in North. I probably was skipping it. I wasn't into it.
But you really felt inferior in many ways.
Yeah. And
that probably caused you to act out more.
Probably. So my parents were used to me acting out. Whatever you saw or knew was I was acting out everywhere.
So you were the kid that the parents knew early on was a troublemaker, right? And it was just it defined you in a way, and it was partly because you felt, like you said, you felt dumb, which is interesting to hear, because you don't present yourself as a dumb guy at all, but like you said, in school though, maybe you felt dumb, but
I don't feel so dumb now. I don't think I know a lot, but I really felt disabled, and it was painful. It was hard. It wasn't easy.
Okay. And you think that's kind of what triggered a lot of the acting out that you did?
Again, how else am I supposed to be, right? You got to have something, and
right.
And I used what I had.
Got it. Okay, so you go through...
And I spent a lot of time alone. I had 2 older siblings. My brother and my sister are 12, 15 years older than me. Okay?
Oh. So you're almost an only child.
Marriage. Yeah. So I am the only child between my parents. They got married when my siblings were 3 and 5, or they got together when they were 3 and 5. So it took them 10 years to get married, and I was born. They were both older. They were older parents. They were, 38 and 43.
When they had you.
When they had me.
Wow.
I was raised by my El Salvadorian housekeeper, Connie, who was 19 years old. You know what I mean? And I spent so much time alone as a kid, I can't tell you.
Wow.
So I think that also had some effects.
It clearly does, yeah. I mean, that's the loneliness you felt might have caused you to, you weren't getting attention, and you were trying to act out to get attention.
Yeah, I was very sad when I remember crying, like, first day of school, going to school, like kindergarten. My mom brought me, and would cry hysterically for her not to leave.
Wow.
It's even still today. It's sad for me.
Really?
Yeah. I'll still get worked up. Yeah.
When you think about kindergarten,
yeah,
you're getting choked up now. It's crazy. Wow. So there's that's like, it's meaningful though, right? It's almost traumatic. Like something happened when you were a kid that made you feel attached to your parents so much, right? Like that's what it is. Like the loneliness, I guess. It's
working up right now.
I don't mean to like.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You okay?
Yeah. But it really, I just remember feeling that sadness, and I remember how painful it was.
Wow.
So yeah.
No,
it's very present.
It's so present that you're. I mean, we could stop for a moment if you want. Like, I feel bad that you're like.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, sure.
No, but it's like I do like exploring these moments. Like I like talking about them.
Yeah, because
look, my mom did what she thought she had to do. The business was like just going nuts. You know what I mean? Like my family, my grandparents came from Cuba. Nothing.
Okay.
My grandfather built a shoe business.
Oh, really?
The biggest thing, and then he became a pillar in Great Neck. He has a school here.
Oh, really?
Everybody knows who he is.
Oh, wow.
My aunt married somebody. They together bought a 100-store clothing chain, and they built it into a multi-billion-dollar business and took it public. And, I have 4 members of my family who were millionaires by the time they were 30, mostly self-made.
Wow.
So it's like why am I bringing this up? People are focused on work. The parents were hustling and working, and we were left, by ourselves. The difference is my cousins had siblings. I had nobody except Connie and Stephen.
Wow, so it's really interesting. So you were this only child who had this housekeeper who was kind of your mother figure, and then the other influence you had were your friends and this guy Stephen, who we bring up.
I didn't
a
really
lot.
feel good, like I could mesh with anybody else. I felt a little bit too wild.
What are you okay to continue?
Yeah, I'm good.
Because I feel like I really am knowing who you are. I want
is
to.
That good?
No, it is good. You know why? Because one of the things I really like about these conversations, to be honest, is I didn't know you, and I heard stories, and you hear different things, and I think it's important for not just me, but for anyone to learn who Sam was. Like, if anyone in Great Neck, for example, knows who Sam is, they don't really know who Sam is.
No, they have no clue.
They have no clue. So I really think that there's something very almost therapeutic about it. And I hope it is for you. I hope you getting sad there is just a part of a bigger picture of you. I'm not saying I could make you figure out who you are, but like I think hopefully you're learning something about how everything connects in a way.
Look, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It does. And like I said, I struggled a lot with not feeling understood. So that's also why this type of thing is important to me, because it gives me a chance to for you to ask questions, for me to answer, and then people can understand. But I also write. Like I do these things now because I think it is important for everybody to. I think most of us probably are misunderstood because we don't have these contexts around what makes somebody up.
Right.
And I would love to have this information pretty much about anybody I'm dealing with.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Right. It's interesting. Let's get back to the thing you brought up in the beginning. The you and Steven and the Matscherka incident.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Because I know, I feel like you said it initially. There's 2 sides to every story.
I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my conversation with Sam. Make sure to come back for part 2, where we go even deeper into the fight that changed the course of Sam's life, from Sam's perspective. We explore the aftermath, how he has made sense of that day over the years, and the emotional struggles he has rarely spoken about so openly. It's an honest, raw, and deeply vulnerable conversation that offers a rare look inside the mind of someone whose life was forever changed by a single moment. And now, some clips from the can't-miss conclusion of my conversation with Sam.
It's a little bit frustrating because of his storytelling abilities that I didn't really get to tell my side of it at any point.
Okay, so did you know he didn't die?
Not for a little bit. Like,
Okay,
I was worried. So we started preparing, and like, Steven punched me in the face a few times so we could tell a story if we needed to. Life was changed forever. I guess I was away for...
Yeah, so
do you know what happened after that?
I actually don't really know what happened. Yeah, and your emotions are what makes you really special, but also I imagine probably got you in a lot of trouble over your life. It's your emotional guy.
Yeah. This is the best conversation ever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is so much more interesting. It sounds like that's why you're doing this. Because you want to know what's really happening inside people's minds. What you're doing for me, I actually can't express the importance of it.